G'day and welcome to another episode of Grease Garage, where today we are joined by Josh.
Hello.
And his
Pajero.
I was going to call it something else. Piece of joy, maybe.
Well,
but what are we doing to it?
Putting a fat turbo on it.
This little fella here. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
I reckon it's going to work perfectly.
I reckon. Spoil pretty quick.
Well, spill instantly. Maybe one per cylinder.
Yeah.
What was your plans though, Josh?
We'll put this big eBay boy on it.
eBay. GT35?
Yep.
76.
82.
82?
Yes.
Oh boy. You're going to want to watch this episode. So being that this is a fresh project, we haven't touched the car before, we chucked on the dyno just to see what type of power we're making stock. At the moment this car is making 134 horsepower and over 200 Nm of torque. Not bad considering it's an old 3.5 with a big auto behind it. So now, we're going to make room for this new turbo, and one of the first things we saw was the manifold is completely in the way. So that's the first thing we ripped off, and as we kept going through it more and more, we just kept finding way more restrictions. Wow, look at that. Isn't that interesting? Eat in my belly, boy! You die! That's a
Magnet gasket, yeah.
That's a magnet gasket.
Oh, yeah, which is a circle thing.
So that's really interesting.
So, basically, we need to run the radiator to get the throttle body off. And to do that, there's a big metal sheet in the way. So we get rid of the skid plate and run the radiator.
So, you're taking off the throttle body there, I see?
Sure am. Now, next time it goes on, we are on that side.
And hooked up to a turbo that's got to go.
Sure does.
You hope so.
Yes, and if it doesn't, then
I reckon it's going to go. Bang!
yeah, box just falls out the bottom of it.
The box. Yeah. So what Josh is doing this, I suggested he just cut them, but Josh is adamant that unscrewing them is the best course of action.
Well, they've never been off before, so they're going to be an absolute...
Yeah, and that's why I suggested cut them, buddy. So while we watch Josh struggle to get this throttle body off, I thought I'll put a picture up and actually show what he's trying to do. As you can see, this is a standard Pajero throttle body that's been cleaned up, and it has two coolant lines, an in and an out, and it's just to help that with warming up the throttle body for cold starts and stuff like that, I believe. But we don't need them, so what we're going to do is we're going to chop these off and we're going to hook them up to the turbo. Let's do it. Let's see it. Oh, look at that.
22 years of gunk.
Oh, look at, oh, it's gross. Okay, so the reason why we are taking this off is because we want to try and swap it for a Magna one, and that's because the Magna ones have way bigger ports. This is actually a Magna gasket, and you can see there's quite a huge difference between that. So definitely worth doing it. It's going to pick up a bit more power, and these need a good clean anyway.
Yeah.
To replace the lower manifold, we need to remove the standard injectors and rail. After that, we remove the lower section to expose the filth, the grime, the dirt that's not only on the engine, but also in the ports. This is years of oil leaks, 4B tracks, and it definitely paints a pretty nasty picture of the hard life that this engine has had. But 6 cans of degreaser later, we are ready to do the first modification, installing some tapered aluminium dowels into the head, as the Magna manifold doesn't have coolant lines. Pretty straightforward. A hammer, smack them in, and any overhang we just grind off. Alright Josh, so about that point the belly is now clean. We've got everything ready. Let's tell them what we are changing to make this work. So what Josh has in his hands is the standard Pajero injector, and we are putting Mitsubishi Magna injectors in there, and they are short up. Now the reason why we're doing that is because this is the standard Pajero lower half of the manifold. This is a 6G75 of a Mitsubishi 380, and we tried that, but we found that the mounting points for the fuel rails weren't right. So then we went to a Magna one, which is a 6G74, and we found that mounting was perfect. We could put the Pajero injectors back here, but
need a spacer.
So why not just put the Magna ones in? They're the exactly same flow rate, which we tested them out. And
got cleaned as well. They got ultrasonic cleaned, and then they got backwashed and flow tested.
That's it. So we know that they're all good injectors now. They all flow really close to each other. It's going to fit on this, so that's pretty much it. Now it's going to put it back together and see how it all looks.
Yes.
Man, I'm getting excited.
I am too.
Yeah, I know, man. It's going to look so cool.
It will.
So let's stop talking crap and start whacking it back together.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. What do you want to start?
Lower manifold.
Gaskets.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, let's do it. Man, they're nice.
Yeah, bunch of water, eh?
Cool. Alright, you want to see what the manifold looks like?
Sure do.
So for comparison, we are showing the difference between the fitment of the Magna versus 380 manifold. As you can see, the Magna manifold is a straight bolt-on and has heaps of clearance all around it and would be a great candidate for anyone to be doing this. But seems we want to squeeze every bit of power and torque from this engine, we are going with the 380 manifold. The runners are longer and they flow more evenly to all the cylinders. The chamber is a way better design. The downside, of course, is we need a lot more modifying to get it working for our setup. There you go, mate.
But
yep, that's cool, but have a look at that. So for those that say they don't fit,
it does.
Does fit.
6G75, 380 top, Magna bottom, Magna injectors.
But you have heaps of room. You could have put the bigger injectors in there. Alright, look. Now I know I'm going to get some serious hate on this next bit, but look, I was a good mate. I lent my drop saw to a friend, and pretty much it was late at night, and my neighbours, they worked some crazy hours, so I couldn't use the angle grinder. So I was stuck using this bloody old wood saw, and no joke, it was like 7 degrees outside, and by the end of it, the jumper was off because I was covered in sweat and getting pretty thirsty at this point. No, man. And this is where we've gone so far. As you can see, we have just tacked this on, nothing crazy, but we made a custom plate, and Josh here has made a little section that's covering up this little cut hole, but we put it in the car and we couldn't make it work, could we?
No.
So we've decided just to go a nice custom plate. We've taken it out to 70mm because you can buy throttle body upgrades that will actually take it to 70mm, so that's all ready for an upgrade later on. And we're putting a Magna throttle body on there.
We sure are. It's going to be pretty much top end Magna, isn't it?
It's just all Magna because it's better.
High flowing.
Yeah, sorry guys, the internet. It's just the way it is. You just can't beat the Magna.
I mean,
unless you're a Civic.
Yeah. Oh.
What? No?
No way.
LS Commodore.
No.
VT.
No.
No?
Especially not VT.
5-litre VT. No, Magna
the world.
Yeah, Magna the creme, nah.
6G the world.
6G the world, hashtag right here. Alright, so we're gonna lay some welds on here and chuck it on the car. We're gonna probably call it a night, I reckon, at that point.
Yeah, we should. 10 o'clock?
Yep, it's definitely getting there, so let's get into it. Now I'm pretty lucky as Mitsubishi castings are normally pretty good to weld to, but a trick that I've been using is going over the area I'm about to weld with the torch, and what this does is it just brings out some of the crap that's in the casting, leaving a much better surface to weld to. I've started doing this more and more, and it does seem to give a stronger weld and also a better looking weld at the end.
So right here we were undoing the tensioner for the power steering. We are doing this to make room for an Astra power steering pump, just so we can have a lot more room for the turbo to come here and make a little bit more power with a little bit less load on the engine.
After a few drinks last night, after welding the manifold, Josh and myself thought removing the section of the power steering bracket would not only make extra room for the turbo, but also clean up and simplify the engine bay. So we were removing anything out of the engine bay that's going to get in the way, and we are using a 5-inch angle grinder with a thin cutting disc, and we're using a bit of scrap metal between the plastic and the aluminium bracket to add some protection so we don't end up cutting any timing belts.
You go, man. Looks good.
What else?
I think it's factory. Oh, there's metal hoses there.
Yep. You're bleeding, bro. Hold that, undo that bolt. Nice, man. Out she goes. Oh, look at that, Joshy.
It looks pretty good, hey?
You reckon that's gonna work?
It sure will, yeah.
So as you can see, we have the Magna gasket on there. We're running Magna throttle body, 380 manifold.
Yep. Pajero fuel rail, Magna injectors, and Magna lower manifold.
Yep. I mean, it's a mixed match.
It sure is. It's a Mitsubishi.
Yeah, but it's not just Mitsubishi, because we've also gone Astra.
Yep, we've got a Holden Astra electric power steering pump. Saves so much room.
It's all in pursuit of power. The reason we did that is because when we put the turbo in there, we want it as close to the engine as possible, because he wants to put an air box on it so you can run a snorkel. Which is, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we need to keep that turbo as far as possible, and that power steering pump.
You can go anywhere. You can have it here, if you wanted, anywhere.
So, guys, if you like what you're watching, please subscribe. Do a little like, share to your mates. Mate, next episode we are concentrating on finishing off this manifold, but mostly I want to look at trying to get that turbo at least mounted up, at least that side of the manifold tacked up. And then hopefully Josh can come back and we can do the intercooler and intercooler piping.
Yeah, we got one big intercooler, a 300 by 600 by 75 intercooler.
Yep.
So it's a pretty big.
700 horsepower rated.
Yeah, 700 horsepower rated intercooler.
Way overkill for this thing, but you never know, Josh might go forge later on in life. Anyway, next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time. Hello again. Well, that takes a bus now.
Thank God there's only one that fell in.
I got something.